All right, so we're going to get ready to bead and make this beautiful beaded waistband on the halo dress. It's got this beautiful drape, and when you tie the tie around your waist, it kind of hangs loosely on the waist. We're going to be using 2 different sizes of beads for our pattern. I've been using an assortment of small beads and an assortment of larger seashells just to add some drama. You can use any kinds of beads that you want, anything that you fancy. This is totally up to you. I do recommend having the 2 different sizes just for the pattern's sake. You're going to want to have a smaller crochet thread that you will use in tandem with your existing yarn. Right now I'm using Sugarcane by Circulo. It's a beautiful, beautiful yarn with a gorgeous drape, but a little bit too thick to bead onto. So I'm going to have a separate strand of beads. You're going to want a separate thread because the yarn will most likely not fit through the holes of your beads. You want to find beads that are about 8 millimeters in diameter in the holes inside. Of course, it doesn't really matter as long as your second thread can fit through the bead and if you can find a needle that fits through the bead as well. So that will be up to your creative interpretation. I've already strung my beads onto my second strand. You're going to want to bead in multiples of 3 onto your strand, and that is the pattern that we will be working with. We're going to start by attaching the separate thread and the yarn together into the chain between the top and the waist belt right here. Let's get started. Okay, so I've attached my yarn right between the top and the V-section in the waist on the ring. I'm going to chain 1 and add my first bead. Chain 1, add another bead. So this is the pattern for the first row of the waist. You're just going to chain 1 and add a bead. You want these to be in multiples of 3. All right, so I've come to the end of my row. I did multiples of 3, and then I made the length long enough for it to reach 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 chain spaces away from the edge of the cup. This is gonna drape down the back of the waist, so you want it to have a little bit of a length difference here. But this is row 1. All right, so I've determined my second row of beading, and the way that you find the number of beads is you count the multiples of 3 along your first row. I have 8 multiples of 3, so I made 8 multiples of this bead pattern. It's going to be 1 small bead, 1 large bead, 1 small bead, and you want to do that 8 different times. So I really switched it up. I got a bunch of different size shells on here. This is going to look kind of fun and wild. Let's get into it. You're going to attach your yarn in the same chain as before. Similar to the first row, you're going to chain 1 and add a bead. And again, chain 1, add a bead. Chain 1, add a bead. Once you have your multiple of 3, you're going to single crochet into the chain after the 3rd bead. So you'll start to create these little draping spaces. Once you single crochet into your first row, going to chain 1, add a bead, chain 1, add a bead, chain 1, add your third bead, chain 1, and then after your next little cluster of beads, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet into the chain after the third bead on row 1. So we're going to continue the row, and you'll start to see these cute little draping patterns that are happening. Chain 1, add a bead, chain 1, add a bead, oops, no. Then we're going to add our last bead, chain 1, and then again, count 3 beads, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the fourth chain, or into the chain after the third bead. And that's how we will continue our second row all the way to the end. All right, I hope you enjoyed this beading tutorial. And if you would like more information about the halo dress, the other beautiful elements, and how it's completely customizable, you can click the link below to subscribe, and we'll send you all the details that you need to know, along with the link to buy the pattern. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials and size-inclusive patterns.